and you can even post a comment as well. It's Smooth981, that is the channel, or just go to youtube.com/smooth981. Our guest this morning is David GWATAU, and David is an investment research analyst from ARM Securities. Good morning, David, and welcome to Business Express.
Hi, Zibby. Good morning. Nice to be here.
Absolutely, our pleasure to have you as well. Now, let's start off with this press release from the NNPC. And according to that press release, the NNPC basically has blames weather conditions on the disruption of supplies. But okay, just having that on the side.
Okay.
Deregulated diesel sells at 1,400. PMS selling for between 600 to 800 in parts of the country. What can we say about fuel subsidies? And this is a question that a lot of Nigerians have been asking. Are they still being paid?
Mm. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. I mean, just as you have mentioned, right, with the diesel prices at 1,400 per liter, and PMS prices also ranging for about 600 naira per liter to 800 naira per liter. Considering this in line with international cost of these fuels, we can definitely not say that there are no fuel subsidies. The government, although has officially persistently denied any payments of subsidy as to this regard. However, recently we saw the Minister of Finance, he said that subsidy for subsidy is a gradual process. So which means it's the removal of small subsidy is being eliminated gradually. So that was basically him alluding to the fact that some form of subsidy is still being paid. Well, personally, I don't think it might not be the traditional. It might not be full subsidy in its traditional sense.
Okay.
However, there's a good chance of indirect subsidies as the government covering some import costs for the NNPC. Yeah, so I think that's to the extent that subsidy would go. Right.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, in April, Reuters had stated that the NNPCL is owing about $3 billion to the film marketers. The NNPC did go on to refute that report. Now, this July, Reuters says that figure is now even way more than initially reported, $6 billion. And they claim that they're speaking with sources from the film marketers. Is there any merit to this report?
Well, I'll say yes because I mean Reuters is a reputable financial um, information provider. So I don't think Reuters would report anything that they have not gotten substantial information about. So yes, to that extent, I believe there is some merit to these claims. However, we cannot say for sure without any official uh, you know uh, information coming from NNPC. Uh, After all, also there really isn't any transparency as regards the NNPC's financial disclosures. So I mean, there really isn't anything much to corroborate the story from Reuters. Uh, Probably, we would see. I know that the NNPC also refuted this 6 billion claim,
Mm.
um, but well, we can't know for sure. This is NNPC and Reuters going back and forth.
Okay. Uh, you're listening to Business Express on Smooth 98.1. We're speaking with David GWATAU. He's an investment research analyst with ARM Securities. Do let us know if you've got a question or you've got a comment, an opinion you'd love to share. WhatsApp 0809 440 981. You can tweet or X at Smooth981. And don't forget the live stream. You can also post your comments on there. We're streaming live on our YouTube channel. It's Smooth981. Fuel queues, once again, we have been blessed by them. Or is it cursed now at this point? I mean, queues have built up in places like Abuja, even here in Lagos, some queues are building up. In fact, some petrol stations have locked up and have stopped selling. The NNPCL is saying, look, this is due to a weather disruption. Thunderstorms had prevented ship-to-ship transfer of PMS. Is this a viable explanation?
Um, so I'll say that, of course, right? Of course, weather disruptions could affect, vessel transfers, right? I mean, from the mother vessel to the daughter vessel. Uh, and I think based on the nine nets standards and regulations, they are not allowed to move oil cargo in the midst of thunderstorms and lightning strikes. It's actually hazardous. So yeah, to that extent, it does make some sense, but I do not believe that it's quite unlikely that the case we're experiencing now is because of um, because of the weather issue. As
Mm,
normally there are consistent supply chain management practices, typically that typically account for such contingencies. uh, However, I believe that this is most probably, um, a play by marketers, observing the market to see, the price direction. So these marketers are basically, locking up, and trying to observe the market to see what happens, how prices, directional prices before they start to sell. So it's what we see on a daily basis.
I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and he says, why don't these people, if they want to increase prices, the marketers, why don't they just increase the prices rather than lock up and then cause people to suffer hardship because they can't even buy the product? And I don't know, I've
Exactly.
always wondered about that, really.
It's
All
artificial.
right. Sorry.
I said it's all, all artificial scarcity.
Mm.
When they create artificial scarcity, they can, hike prices.
So what's preventing other players, beside the NNPCL, from actually bringing petrol into the country?
Okay. So basically, right, before the deregulation of the downstream oil and gas sector, NNPC was the sole importer of petroleum products. But post deregulation, I believe it's mostly bureaucratic hurdles that has inhibited other people, other companies, or other players from importing, as well as FX issues. With the lack of FX supply, importers do not actually have the access to these funds to actually import. So I believe that that's what is keeping other players from importing fuel.
Mm. All right, let's talk about the Dangote refinery. What has been the challenge for them when it comes to actually getting this raw crude from the NNPCL?
Uh, I think the crux of the issue likely doesn't lie with the NNPC, because while they may not produce enough to enough crude to satisfy the Dangote refinery entire demand of about 650 uh, barrels per day, um, you know, the bigger challenge seems to be with the international companies, as alluded by the Dangote Group CEO himself.
Mm,
Recently he pointed out, at the press, interview, that there's an apparent reluctance from IOCs to supply crude oil to the Dangote refinery, and he also alluded it to be due to their ownership of vessels that imports refined products into the country. So if with the Dangote refinery coming on board, it would mean that this business model basically would be threatened. So, I mean, it looks like IOCs are trying to suppress the Dangote refinery, but I believe that the government, this is where the government should come in, because I mean there's actually a section of the PIA that requests that IOCs should meet domestic demands before
mm.
the exports, and that should be held to account. I feel like IOCs should be held to account on that regard.
All right, thank you, David, for that. You're listening to Business Express on Smooth 98.1. Our guest is David GWATAU, Investment Research Analyst, ARM Securities. Let us know your thoughts. If you've got a question, a comment, this is the time to share it with us. 0809 440 981. You can also tweet at smooth981. David, and I'm not trying to ruin anyone's day or anything, but do you see more fuel supply disruptions in the near future?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Well, given the current realities, right? What NNPC and I'll say are saying about the bad weather affecting supply chains.
Mm,
And I mean to note that we are not even in the we're not yet in in the center of the rainy season. I mean, there's still a lot to go. Uh, Also, on top of that, with the alleged debt owed to oil marketers, and Reuters also alluded that some of these marketers are already refusing to supply, right, until pending when they get paid. um, this all of this would basically create significant risk, as regards fuel shortage. So yes, I actually feel like we might see some shortages, and marketers will continue in their regular behavior. So yes,
mm.
we'll probably
Now,
see some
speaking,
shortages going forward.
okay. Hopefully not anticipating future shortages. This is got me thinking about the CNG buses from the government, the ones that won't require petrol or fuel to actually move. Any updates on that?
Okay. Yes. So in April, we got an announcement from the presidency, through the special advisor to the president on information and strategy. That's Mr. Abayo Ononuga. Sorry. So he actually mentioned that they would launch, the first round of 2,700 CNG powered buses and tricycles, and which it was meant to be launched by the end of May. Well, however, I mean, we're in July already, and we've not seen any buses yet. I've not seen any buses deployed yet. I don't know about anybody else. Um,
Mm.
you know, but more recently, that just a few days ago, the NNPC unveiled 12 new CNG filling stations in Abuja and in Lagos. So I believe that this is likely a positive first step. The availability of CNG refueling stations has also been a major concern for Nigerians regarding this CNG initiative. So, based on the progress, we can actually, be cautiously optimistic that the government will, roll out the first fleet of CNG vehicles in the coming weeks.
All right. Let's look at a message coming through. And this is from Ernest. And Ernest says, should Dangote have built a huge refinery without first securing his crude oil supply contracts?
Okay, so I mean, there have been a lot of conversations around that. A lot of people feel like as a business savvy, a business mogul like Dangote should have secured supply before he went into the refinery construction and all of that. But I feel like that's quite subjective.
Mm,
I mean, this refinery has been in construction for a long time. It's not, I mean, it's not a 2 3 years thing. It's something that's happened over the course of probably 10 years. So I feel he probably wouldn't have been able to make the right projections, and the oil market is also very volatile, so it would be that would be also have been so difficult. But I'm sure he also was counting on the Nigerian, Nigeria produces crude, so I'm sure he was also counting on utilizing Nigeria's crude oil resources. However, I mean, we can see the issues he's going through, now.
all right. I've got one more message to take. It's from Gilbert Musa. And he says, on the CNG buses, we need to know the reason BRT bus quality is currently below average, so the new scheme does not fail. I've got one final question for you, David. If you could answer this perhaps in about 20 seconds or so. What's your forecast for oil price trajectory going into the second half of this year?
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Uh, So I first of all, I'd say the oil market remains shrouded in uncertainty, going into H2 2024, because there are several factors that will likely determine oil price direction. One of this will be the OPEC production policy. OPEC production policy will be a major driver of prices. Also, the health of global economy, particularly major consuming regions like Europe and China, will also significantly influence demand. We will also see influence of ongoing geopolitical tensions. So, speaking about geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and Europe, so that's Russia, Ukraine, would also cause to also disrupt supply and cause price spikes. Also, looking at China, recovery with recovery in the Chinese manufacturing sector, which also see increased oil demand coming from China, which would uh, also spike oil prices. So basically, on the balance of factors, I mean, as I've mentioned before, there are several scenarios that could unfold in H2 2024 to affect oil prices. But
Mm,
the most likely scenario, however, would be a period of extended volatility. Crude prices will fluctuate as this all these things I've mentioned, interplay. Um,
mm.
my forecast for oil prices, uh, in the base case, will be is 78 barrels USD per barrel, and for the bull case, I forecast 86 USD per barrel.
All right, we'll see if you have your I don't know what's the word now. Is it Nostradamus? You know, the guy who predicted the future. I can't remember his name now. We'll see how well that works out.
Right.
All right, thank you so much for being on the show with us, David. Thank you, and have a beautiful
Thank you
day
very
ahead.
much. Thanks for having me.
That was David GWATAU, investment research analyst, ARM Securities. That is